everyone, I hope you're keeping well. My name is Deborah J. Kelly. I'm an intrepid explorer of the mind, the body and the soul. If you'd like to know a little bit more about me or follow me on Instagram, Facebook and also check out my website is deborahjkelly.com and the information I will attach below here. So what I wanted to do was just a little video based on what is right and what is wrong. So I've actually had a good number of people over the last couple of years, but most around the last couple of weeks, kind of saying, you know, what's right or wrong in terms of, you know, should I drink coffee? Can I not drink coffee? Is it bad to eat meat? Is it right to eat meat? Is alcohol okay? Is it not okay? All these different questions in terms of people working on their ascension, changing their vibrations, moving into different patterns, and ultimately moving into the new fifth dimension or moving into the new world. So we're all changing vibrationally in this new world that we're heading into. And I guess people are trying to figure out for themselves, you know, what's the right thing to do, what's the wrong thing to do. I have a couple of different views on this, and essentially I think it was Henry Ford that said it: if you think you're right or you think you're wrong, you're right. So no matter what we think, we are the screenplay writers of our own play. We are the puppet and the puppeteer. We are the painter and the painting. And so whatever we say goes. So if we manifest our own reality, and if you believe that we manifest our own reality, then essentially it doesn't really matter what you eat or what you drink. What actually matters is your belief. So if you are eating takeaways all the time, if you're drinking wine every night, if you're smoking, if you're taking drugs all the time, all these things, if you believe them to affect your energy as in terms of your ascension, then absolutely, if you think it's going to affect it, then it will. If you don't, it won't. I will say, having worked with various plant medicines around the world, I went traveling and unintentionally or accidentally ended up studying various herbal medicine and plant medicine modalities all around the world in various different countries. And I've also worked with ayahuasca and San Pedro and, you know, lots of other plant medicines as well. So, and because I've studied these, I speak from my own experience and say that when you're going into ceremony with certain plant medicines, generally you do what's called a dieta. So a dieta is, or panchakarma, which is the Indian version of the same thing. And it's essentially where you cleanse your body, or there's different degrees and levels to it, but essentially, you know, you're avoiding meat, you're avoiding alcohol, you're avoiding sex, you're avoiding anything negative like negative media, you're avoiding sugars, anything man-made or processed. The reason for doing all of this is, yes, these particular man-made, man-tampered with products, if you want to call them that, have a different vibrational energy to them. They certainly have a lower vibrational energy to them. They're not natural. They haven't come from the ground. They've been manipulated. They've been changed. They've been mechanically changed. And when we put this into our body, then we are affecting our body. We're eating that energy. We're eating that frequency of whatever it is that we're putting into our body. Now, to the extent that affects us is how bad or not you think that is for you. So as I said, when you're working with plant medicine, you tend to do these dietas or panchakarmas to clean your body out as much as possible and away from kind of the lower density food. Because when you're working with higher energies, when you're working with higher realms, when you're doing spiritual work, you know, what you want to do is you want to raise your frequency, you want to raise your vibrations, and it's going to be a lot easier to do that if you're not eating or, you know, consuming these kind of foods. So it's not that they're good or bad for you, it's just how easy do you want it to be to connect with source. You know, if you do a bit of research, you'll be able to see that the lower vibrational energies, they're heavier, they're slower, they're thicker, they kind of pull you down. The higher vibrational frequencies are They resonate at a much higher level, and they're a lot lighter, a lot more airy. There feels like there's a lot more space and time, etc. And what you want to do when you're gaining that spiritual connection is you want to be able to move into those higher realms. And the less crap you have in your body, it's just the less crap, the easier it is for you to get to those higher vibrational levels. If you've just eaten a meal and it's a big huge takeaway and you're really tired and you're feeling really sluggish, and we all know how we feel after that food. We feel slow. I've had takeaways where I've totally overeaten, and at the end of it I feel awful, I feel bloated, I feel tired, I want to go for a nap. That's slower vibrational. If you ate a meal and it was all, different coloured vegetables and it was all, fresh and tasty, then you're going to feel like, sprightly afterwards. It's, you're putting in and you're getting out what you're putting in. So it's not that it's good or bad, and I think we have to learn to stop looking at things as if they're, good or bad. It's more a question of why are you asking that question? Why are you asking, is something good or bad? What is it that you want to achieve from, if you want to drink coffee and you feel that, coffee is lower vibrational food, and even though, it's a stimulant, but if you feel that it's going to affect your ability to sit in meditation and focus, then it's not that it's good or bad for you. It's how, when you drink that coffee or eat that takeaway or smoke that cigarette or take that drug or whatever it is, when you do that, how do you feel when you do that? And when you do that, do you feel that if you went to sit and meditate, or you wanted to come into your heart center and feel joy, love and gratitude, or just connect a little bit more, you just have to feel into, is that going to help me or is it going to hinder me? And it's a choice every time. My own journey through this whole process, we all have our own journey. Like, my journey has been very different to your journey. Somebody else's journey is different to your journey, and so on. The shamans, when I've worked with them in Peru, before ayahuasca ceremonies, that you're doing your dieta and you don't have your sugar and your alcohol and your meat and all the rest of it. But when you've actually had your ayahuasca ceremony, the very next morning you break your fast with some sugar, and the idea is that you're now in a different moment. You're now moving on from this moment, and it's time to integrate. And it's a tradition that they have. But the shamans will sit down the next morning with you and they'll be drinking coffee. And you're like, well, how come you can drink coffee and we can't? And they're like, you can drink coffee. Nobody's stopping you from drinking coffee. And we'll say, well, in terms of meat, then, how come we can't eat meat? And they look and they say, nobody's stopping you from eating meat. You can eat meat. So it's never a choice of you can do this or you can't do this. It's a choice of how does it affect you? And for the shamans are in ceremony most days of the week, and for them, they live a clean lifestyle of, they don't listen to negative media, they don't partake in all the BS of the world. They're living very humble, simplistic lifestyles. They're in touch with nature, they're in contact with the land, and they're journeying a lot with the medicine that they're using, plant medicine. So for them, they also know moderation, so they can drink coffee and they can have their jungle beers and they can go off and they can have fun. Like, shamans themselves go out and they, go on the tear and they have fun, and then they come back to their lifestyle. We're human. We're here to experience the full gamut of emotions. We're here to experience the full gamut of experiences, and it's for us to determine in our own individual worlds what's right and wrong. We have spent so long being brainwashed and manipulated by mainstream media, TV, Hollywood, the whole lot of it. And, and I will, I put my hand up and say I was folly to that as well. Like, we don't even know it's happening for the most part. We're being told what to eat, what not to eat. One day tomatoes are good for you, the next day they're bad for you. Do you know, that makes no sense. We're being told what to put into our body. they, you know, what not to put into our body, how to exercise, how not to exercise, how to look, how not to look, what's socially acceptable, what's not socially acceptable. You know, there's labels on everything, you know, TV, media, magazines, newspapers, Hollywood, the cinema, movies, TV shows, the whole lot of it. If we would just take a few moments to step back, we would see that there's so much manipulation going on, so much that we've just accepted it. We don't even question it. We just think it is like it's part of our reality. And what happens, or what has happened, is we went from being a species of feeling an inner knowing inside of ourselves and knowing what's innately right or wrong to being told what's right or wrong. So rather than, you know, even nowadays you have these, you know, the smartphones that you can go, hey Siri, can you tell me if wearing a pink bra is acceptable? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you want to put something like that on it, you can. We've kind of gone to the stage where we're asking technology what's right or what's wrong, and we're asking other people at the other end of technology what's right or what's wrong. And anybody who's looking at this video right here right now is looking for what's right or what's wrong, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And what I'm saying to you is, what is acceptable and not acceptable in your world, because you are the creator of your own world. And if you're the creator of your own world, why are you asking the cast on stage what's acceptable for you? Imagine this for a moment. Imagine you're a screenplay writer. You are the main character in your own play, and everybody else around you is just a character that you've written into the play. That's all they are. And you know, you've gotten so used to all these characters telling you what's right for you, what's wrong for you, how to do this, how to do that. You forget that you can actually think for yourself. You get so used to people telling you how things are. This is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong, this is acceptable, not acceptable. You just get so used to it that you just completely forget, hold on, I think I could have the answer to this. I think I could maybe possibly feel into whether this is right or wrong. What's right or wrong comes from a fear of trusting ourselves. What you're saying is, you know, asking outwards is like saying, I'm afraid that if I come up with the answer inside myself, that I'm going to be wrong with the answer. And I know exactly what that's like, because I literally spent the majority of my life doing that. In fact, I'm writing a book about something about that now. So we've learned to judge ourselves based on what the external world is imposing on us, and we've forgotten how to connect in with ourselves, and we've forgotten how to ask those questions within ourselves. And as I said, if we're the screenplay and we're writing our own play, and we're you know, the main character, why are we asking the other cast members to answer a question about ourselves? So it's really difficult, and it's really, really scary when you realize that you actually do have all the answers, because you created this world. So you're the only one with all the answers, and somebody else is in their own screenplay, in their own world, and they're looking at their own life through their own perspective, and you're just a cast member in their world. And somebody asks you, you know, is it better to exercise health-wise at 8 o'clock in the morning standing on your head? Well, you know, in your world, that might be important. In the other person's world, it depends what's right for them. That was a really bad example. But my point is that what's right in your world may be completely different to what's right in somebody else's world. I studied a bit of herbal medicine, and during my studies, the one thing that I really, really became clear on and was quite fascinated with the idea of it, not every single herb will work for every single person. Everything in this world has an energetic attachment to it. And so if I say to you that dandelion root is great for your liver and a good detox and great purifier for your blood, you know, I might, you know, that might be something that 5 people will take, and one of the people will go, well, that didn't work for me. And it's not because they're being awkward or different, it's just that biologically, energetically, that wasn't right for them, because the reason for what they were using it for is different to the reason, you know, that somebody else is using it for. So my life, my parents, my brothers, my family, my life circumstances, where I grew up, when I grew up, the people I met along the way, there's not another human being on this planet who've had that exact set of scenarios that have brought them to this moment in time. Equally for you, looking at this video, you have your own family and friends and timelines and experiences in this life, you know, from the moment you were born to right this very moment, your own challenges, your own lessons, your own experiences that absolutely not one other human in this world can replicate. So what entitles anybody else to be able to tell you what's right or wrong in your life? So I leave that with you. Have a think about it. And essentially what I'm saying is, if it's right or wrong, you're creating the answer to that. So I would ask you to sit with yourself, ask yourself the question, feel into your body, where do you feel it's right or you feel it's wrong, and let that be your answer, and let that be right for you. And encourage other people to do that as well. It's really important. It's time to connect in with our heart. It's time to go back inward. It's time to realise there's a lot of false idols that we've had in front of us for years, and we have relied on our external world as a crutch that has served its time, it served its purpose. We've been too afraid to trust our inner knowing. We've been too afraid to be wrong in our conclusions, because we've been too afraid to be cast against somebody else who might have a differing opinion. And we've been afraid to be judged and rejected. And I would say to you that it's time to stand up for yourself. It's time to feel into what's right or wrong for you. And it's time to allow you to have your own feelings and emotions and thoughts and beliefs. And if they're different to somebody else, then that's their journey. Your journey is different to them. And what's right for you may not be right for somebody else. And what's right for somebody else may not be right for you. And we are all different. Our life experiences are different. And therefore, what we're projecting and our screenplays are going to be each individually unique to us. So I hope this has helped. If it has, I'd love to hear your comments below. As I said, you can check out my website, which is www.deborahjkelly.com. I'm on Facebook and also Instagram as Deborah J. Kelly. I'll leave the links below. And if you have any questions, I would love to hear from you. Take care. Bye.